Okay, well, when this video goes out, it's going to be pretty much a year since the biggest thing to change in my life so far, apart from getting my dog. And it really is, what I'm going to talk about today is really just my journey and what led me to that decision, and what basically what has happened since. So get stuck into it. So anyway, as I said, it's been a year since my gastric sleeve surgery, and if you don't know what gastric sleeve surgery is, it is a very extreme method of weight loss. It's not dieting, it's not horrendous amounts of exercise. It is really, some would call it a cheat way, but for some people it has saved their life, and it has saved mine in some respects. So gastric sleeve surgery is one of a few options that some people have to lose weight. And I'll quickly go through what some of the options are. One option is the lap band surgery, which is basically a silicone ring that sits over your esophagus and constricts the esophagus where it meets the stomach. It's basically makes the hole smaller, forcing you to eat and chew your food. And you know, if you have something too big, a big chunk of meat or something, it'll stay up there and you'll vomit. So it forces you to eat and chew, therefore tricking your brain. As we all know, when you chew a lot, you get a full of feeling it quicker, you don't eat as much. That's removable. That is a removable method, and for some people it does work. When it comes to the surgical side of things, there are, as I said, the other two methods: gastric sleeve and gastric bypass. I'll do the gastric sleeve last, but gastric bypass is basically joining your esophagus to your small intestine, and your stomach stays where it is. It doesn't get modified in any way. It's just that the esophagus gets moved down to the top of the small intestine. Therefore, digestion takes place in the small intestine, and there are a few, I wouldn't say drawbacks, there are just a few things you got to be careful of, especially with gastric bypass. And that is, you really need to eat constantly, because there is literally no stomach. You need to supplement with vitamins and stuff like that, because you're not eating enough food to provide you with the nutrients and vitamins that you need. And a few other small issues related to that, but more specific to a person. We move on to gastric sleeve, which is sort of a combination of lap band and bypass, within reason. Gastric sleeve actually removes 3/4 of your stomach, and all you're left is a small pouch. And that's what I had. I went up to Shepparton Private Hospital, had a chat with my doctor, Elder Jai, sorry. Very renowned doctor in that space, especially in the northern region of Victoria. And he does a lot of these, and he was quite confident with me losing weight, and he was more than happy for me to support the operation. So gastric sleeve removes 3/4 of your stomach, and it also takes it right out. It just basically just 3/4 of your stomach gone. There's a small pouch left over, and that's about it. It is, as I said, if you think about it, it is a mix of bypass and lap bands where you are required to eat smaller portions, but you don't have the issues of bypass where you are needing to constantly supplement with vitamins, because I'm eating enough at the moment to do that. So we'll move on to what is really the start of the journey. Now, I had been a big boy. For a large portion of my life, I've been larger than, in terms of weight, I've been bigger than average. It was only the last 3 years that I had really exploded, and it really started when I moved away from my life in concrete pumping. I went to driving agitator trucks, and that was a very sedentary job. You sit down in a truck, not a lot of physical labor. When I moved back to concrete pumping after that, I was working a boom pump, again, not quite as physical as the line pump work I was doing in the past, but it was still physical. And though I was eating fairly rubbish food, I was working it off, because, you are moving around, up and down, backing trucks on, fixing pipes, lifting formwork, you're doing a heap of things, you are physically working away. And then I moved on to the job that I currently have, representing the political party. Now, basically, that was all physical labor, just diminished to basically nothing. I mean, the heaviest thing I'd carry was a marquee when I was setting up a show or hitching a trailer. And I had not changed my eating habits. I was still eating rubbish food, and a lot of rubbish food. And my weight just continued to go up and up and up and up and up until, as of the end of till the end of the year 2019, I was 180 kilos. 180 kilos. That's heavy. That's big. And that was the biggest I had ever been in my life. And when I look back at photos of how big I was compared to what I am now, I really think back to what my mental state was back then. For the longest time, I thought, when people say, "Oh, you've been in a good paddock" and stuff like that, I thought, it's been a good paddock. I've got a pretty lazy job. I'm not too bad. And in brutal reality, I was not all right. I was in a pretty, even though I wasn't in a bad mental state, I was definitely in a state where I wasn't realizing the danger I was in when it comes to my health. And then looking at the photos from prior to surgery to where I am now, as I said, it's chalk and cheese. And we will it really is chalk and cheese. 74 kilos I've lost. 74. And that is a lot of weight. That is a lot of weight. As we turn the corner, there we go. So I went in and had a chat with my surgeon. I initially had a chat with my GP to get a referral, and he was confident that yes, I could lose weight. What I could lose was up to me, but there's a lot of resources out there, a lot of support groups, there's a lot of information out there. Some parts of it is true, some parts of it isn't, but I really had to, it was a really quick decision, because after researching how I would pay for it, because I didn't have private health insurance back then, doing my research and just thinking about what I was embarking on, which is quite serious surgery and a life-changing operation. I went to my surgeon, had a chat with my mum, and he had booked me in for the 21st of January, and it was like late November that I had seen him. Late November, early December 2019. So so the surgeon recommended that I go on a couple of weeks dieting, not only to, as he put it, reduce the size of my liver, because the liver is in the way. Also to prove to him that I could lose the weight without the dieting, or without the surgery. And I lost about 16 kilos in that. It was a very simple diet. It was replacing a couple of meals with those shakes and supplementing with vegetables and vitamins and stuff like that. So it wasn't a drastic diet per se, and I certainly didn't feel hungry, because of those shakes are definitely designed to keep you full. We then, the day before surgery, I go in, and to be honest, I hadn't weighed myself prior to surgery ever since my first consult, and I didn't realise that I had lost 16 kilos before that, so I was actually quite surprised. And so the day of surgery comes, I get myself weighed, I'm sitting there on the hospital bed in the gown with all the machines that go bing, and I go in and crack a couple of jokes as I'm waiting to go into surgery, and they put me to sleep, and I wake up in a little bit of pain, but also, not terrible amount of pain. And my mum was there, the nurse was there, and it's not really a reflection on the surgeon or anything like that. They did have a bit of drama just keeping me, not so much alive, but just keeping my breathing sort of going. And when I woke up, I remember the nurse and my mum had to tell me to keep breathing. You stop, you must be tired, you stop breathing, And I literally had to think about to myself, chest up, chest down, chest up, chest down, just to keep it going. And then after a couple of hours, it seemed to be all right. So a couple of, pretty much a day and a half in the ICU. Then I moved out into the wards, into a room. And it was really then just a matter of, you need to eat. So luckily, I wouldn't say luckily, but generally hospitals, the food that they provide was what I needed. And the first 2 to 3 weeks is a liquid diet, basically liquids, and just broths, water. The hospital wouldn't let me go unless I had drunk a litre of water throughout the day, just so they were confident that I could maintain my fluids. So after 3 days in hospital and moving around and having a bowel movement and all that sort of stuff, I eventually got driven home and stayed the first 3 weeks at my mum's house. Again, resting, changing bandages, drinking fluids, keeping a track of things, getting started with the multivitamins that were sort of, just sitting them in your mouth and letting them dissolve. And after that, we started moving on to soft foods, yogurts, pureed stuff, because throughout all this time, your stomach is healing. They literally cut your stomach and staple it together and seal it and heat seal it. So your stomach has taken a massive, slice, and it needs to heal. So you also need to digest food, and food has to sit in the stomach. And all the while it is producing acid, and you just need to be very careful. Hence why, those first couple of weeks are actually quite critical when it comes to eating and drinking, making sure you're getting fluids through your system. So after I had gone through 3 weeks or so at my mum's place, I went home and then just started to keep up with the regime, pureed foods, yogurts, fluids, and stuff like that. And after about 3 to 4 weeks, I started to incorporate normal foods, scrambled eggs, soft but non-pureed foods, cheese, and things like that. And then I, you just move slowly into eating normally. Normal foods, breads, meats, chicken, potatoes, vegetables, and things like that. Things that need the stomach needs to work a little bit harder to digest. And it's all about just making sure, retraining yourself how to eat, basically. So I am now at this moment, because we can skip the rest. I mean, it's me learning how to eat and things like that. I skip forward and I, January 20th, 2021, one whole year after, I am 74 kilos down from where I was. Currently at 106. Put that in perspective, that's probably about 3.5 concrete bags. 74 1-litre bottles of milk. Just 74 kilos is a lot. That's actually what some people weigh. And I've lost a person off my body. And a lot of people say, how do you feel? And I tell them that I don't feel much different to where I was when I was big. But I definitely feel it in my personality. I'm a little bit more confident, as you can tell through my Twitch streams. Sorry, coffee. Because I now know that, and it's really just being reflective on the fact that where I was. A little bit more confident that I went through this situation and kicked its ass. I really have kicked its ass. 74 kilos, as I said, is a lot of weight to lose. And I'm not so much proud of myself in terms of, I'm lost that much weight. I'm proud that I've lost that much weight, but I'm also proud that I now recognize that I was in a bad state personally, mentally, just in the way that I perceive myself, and also that I was lucky that I didn't have any issues with it. I was lucky that I was in a position mentally to win, and I was in a position mentally to not stuff up the healing process. Because sometimes, from what I've seen, what I've read online, some people just stuff the healing process up, and they just don't heal properly, and they have constant problems throughout their life. I'm also lucky that I've also, with my family history of health issues, I'm lucky and grateful that in that respect I have probably stayed off and or stopped any potential health issues, that's family related health issues, going into the future. Because my family has health issues, heart issues, cholesterol, weight, and things like that. Lots of health issues on my mum's side and my dad's side. So I'm kind of lucky that I have basically staved it off or delayed it by an extremely long period of time. And that's actually a good feeling. I feel good, but I feel good because I now recognize that I have just saved my life, pretty much. Saved my life. So turn this corner, hang on. Around we go. I will have to quickly pause the video there because I'm about to stop and do a bit of shopping. So I shall return shortly, everyone. Okay, where were we? As I said, I am I'm proud of my achievement, but I also recognize that there was a lot of defining factors, and I'm glad I'm through with it now. So we'll go, and this is ultimately specifically related to me and my experience, but it also can serve for a lot of other people too. What are the downsides of this surgery? Well, one, it is not reversible. It is basically permanent, and I now have to, for the rest of my life, monitor my food intake, my portion size, and basically, not that I need to, but I just need to maintain my nutrients and my vitamins and stuff. I just need to constantly supplement, but that's perfectly fine. I can manage that. It's all part of my morning routine. So it is not reversible within reason. It is somewhat reversible, but why would you want to? Why would you have gone through this incredible transformation? Why would you want to revert back to a potential state where it could all happen again? So that's basically the biggest downside. There are a couple of other downsides. You can have issues with your pancreas and appendix and all that if you haven't already got them removed. And heartburn. Heartburn's a bit of an issue. It can be a bit of a pain. Sometimes people who get sleeved actually get heartburn that bad that they actually have to have a bypass because it is that bad. I've been lucky. The heartburn that I have had is minimal at best. It has been a bit painful at times, but a Malanta or just something, you know, a yogurt or a bit of milk normally calms it down. And then there is what's called dumping syndrome, where for some reason you've either A, eaten too much, or B, something just has not agreed with the stomach. And I'll get into what agrees and doesn't agree with my stomach later on. But your dumping syndrome is quite painful. It is basically your stomach spasms, and it basically pushes all the food into the small intestine. It is painful. I've only had it once. Thankfully, I've only had it once because it absolutely hurt. And I thought I was kind of thinking, do I need to go to the hospital because it hurts that bad? Luckily, it passed in due course. I went back to bed. So, at the end of it all, for me, there were very few downsides. Now, this is only for me. I mean, this is my experience. There was only a few downsides when it came to doing this surgery. Some people have had, you know, with pre-existing health conditions, diabetes, heart issues and stuff like that. It is ultimately your specialist that is the best source of information. I'm not an authority. I've been through the process, but I'm lucky enough not to have any major existing health conditions to cause an issue. Excuse me. So, what are the upsides? Well, the upsides are, I've, as I said, lost 74 kilos. It's a lot of weight, a buttload of weight. And I am really just feeling good, feeling fine. That's the upside. You lose a lot of weight, and if you have possibility of health issues in the past, they pretty much don't exist anymore. That's if you have the issues. So, would I recommend it to someone who was or is morbidly obese? Yes, I would. If you are in the right mental state to accept that the surgery will help you, and you are willing to put in the effort and the work to make sure that you don't regress or you don't have any issues, albeit, within reason, I would recommend, and this is also to a surgeon, ultimately your surgeon, I would recommend this surgery if you are morbidly obese. Now, I was morbidly obese. I was 180 kilos, and I'm 5'11". I mean, I was a big, tall boy, big, tall bloke. A lot of weight. I was massive. I was huge. Let's scratch that stuff down a bit. I'm happy with that. So, Would I recommend it? Yes. Is it for everyone? No. I had gastric sleeve. As I said, it's a mixture of the two. If you are willing to go through the process, and if you wanted to, you can reach out to me. And I'm talking specifically in Australian sense, but if you are willing to go through the process, or even considering going through the process, hit me up, send me a message, and I will A, walk you through the process, and B, if you need help, I can help you. I can refer you to my surgeon. But it's really up to you to take the first step. So what does the future hold for me? Well, the future is, I'm currently sitting on 106 kilos. I would like to lose another 10 and then be happy. So sitting around 95-ish kilos, I would be happy there. Am I going to get there? Yes, I am eventually going to get there. I set myself a goal to be under 100 by the end of the year, by the anniversary of the surgery, and I'm actually quite proud that even though I haven't achieved that goal of being under 100, it's still 74 kilos. That's a lot of weight. So if I could get down to 95, I would be pleased, but it will take some time. I have had plateaus, where I drop down a little bit and then I stop. Then I drop down a little bit more and then I stop, which is fine. It's a known issue. As I said, what does the future hold? Well, ladies, I'm still single. God, that's terrible. I would like to, get a few things done. I mean, I'm still working for the political party. I'm not going to leave that job unless something drastic happens. I'd like to progress personally with relationships. I've been single for an extremely long period of time, and past relationships have been spotty at best. And basically just keep enjoying life. I have, personally, I think I have one of the best jobs ever. I work for a political party, and it represents what I want to do in life. Go out in the bush, have fun, fight for rights. I get to, as I said, drive around, represent, and do what I love for a job. And I'm currently in the work car at the moment. So yeah, the future, as I said, wouldn't mind developing relationships, albeit, COVID's been a bit of a pain in the ass, and really just enjoy life now. I no longer am I withholden to weight. I can actually, take a walk and not be exhausted come the end of the walk. I can now really push on and do things I want to do. I want to go out exploring. I want to eventually bag that, the sandbar buck that I missed 3 years ago. I want to have some fun. So, has this journey been interesting? It has been interesting. It was a situation that I created myself. It was my own bloody fault, because I didn't listen to my mum, my dad, family, friends, and they, and I've always been big, as I said, but getting that big was my fault. It really was. I blame myself for it, but I'm also happy that I got myself out of it. So ultimately, as I said, if you are in a position where you want to lose weight and things have just not worked out, you're more than welcome to send me a message. If you have my number, give me a call, and I'm happy to talk you through the process. I wasn't going to make this video too long because it's already at about half an hour, close enough too. I just want to, I'm happy to help. I can't provide specific medical assistance, but I'm happy to give you and provide you my experience and how I went through it, and help you through the process up to a point, because obviously this is a medical procedure. You have to listen to the medical professionals. So at the end of the day, I've lost 74 kilos and I'm incredibly happy. I really am. I really am. And that's basically the end of that. Thank you all very much for listening to me talking while I'm driving, and I will see you all next time. Catch me on my Twitch streams, CMDR Commander Zorba Dundee, and obviously the YouTube channel and all that good stuff. Catch me on Facebook, on Instagram, and yeah, enjoy life, everyone. As I said, you want to handle this process, give me a hoy. I'm happy to. But apart from that, I am going to continue my day. I'll see you all later. And yeah, it's been good fun. All right, everyone. I'll see you. Bye.